Brent Sadler is a senior fellow for naval warfare and advanced technology at the Heritage Foundation, and he joins us now. Brent, welcome. So let's start right there with the drama that unfolded right in front of the press over China's human rights abuses. Is the U.S. doing enough to confront China over its human rights abuses, especially against the Uyghur people?
No, absolutely not. In the final weeks of the President Trump's administration, it was remarkable that they came out and clearly articulated what was happening to the Uyghurs as genocide. And that was a statement that was reiterated by President Biden shortly after he came into office. But there's been very little actually meaningful action taken on that, both on the world stage. More needs to be done.
The president made a lot of headlines, of course, with this meeting. One thing that made headlines was what he didn't bring up, fentanyl, many ingredients made in China, and COVID. Your thoughts on that? Was that a missed opportunity?
Absolutely. I think that not bringing up fentanyl and bringing up the ongoing issues in combating COVID is a missed opportunity. It's also a very obvious difference of opinion, I think, on the two governments, at least on their approach. China still has COVID-0 policies, which impact directly our economy and our industry. On fentanyl, there's probably a difference of national interest. It's not impacting China. In fact, elements there are making money on it, so why would they clamp down on it? In the United States, it's actually leading to well over 100,000 deaths a year, directly affecting our youth in the United States.
Yeah, to be fair, did the president kind of have to, pick and choose? It was a 3-hour meeting. They couldn't talk about everything. But do you think that he should have brought up some of these issues? Were they just as important?
Absolutely. 3 hours, usually having run some of these meetings in the past myself, when you have translators cut it in half, that's still in 90 minutes. I think fentanyl and the loss of 100,000 American lives certainly is a topic worthy of bringing up and diving in more directly as to what China isn't doing on helping us combat this. In fact, China has a history that they have themselves with opium, fighting that in the 30s as well. So if there was a country, a regime that understands that this is works against their interest, they should know that firsthand from their own history.
So President Biden, he's intensified the trade conflict, upping the trade between the U.S. and China after former President Trump slapped tariffs on $50 billion in Chinese goods back in 2018. How high are the stakes for the global economy, Brent?
Well, I think many of the actions that we're seeing, the tariffs that you saw begun under Trump, many said that was going to be meaningless, actually have had some effect. It's actually brought the Chinese to the negotiating table in some occasions. But I think there's still far more to be done on the economic front, and there's going to be a lot more back and forth between our two countries in the coming weeks and months on this. But of course, COVID and the global recession that's starting to settle in is definitely going to dampen any real growth or any real forward momentum we're going to see in either of our economies.
Tensions only intensifying between the two powers over Taiwan, North Korea, and the war in Ukraine. Do you think this 3-hour meeting was enough to prevent the U.S. and China competition from turning into a new Cold War?
Well, I think the fundamentals actually, basically, it doesn't really matter that they met or didn't, because the fundamentals of our two nations' national interests are working increasingly across purposes. That being said, it's when the opportunity is there that to articulate clearly each other's national interest, some of that quietly out of public view is definitely important. Unfortunately, in the case of our president, too often the message has been muddled or confusing. In this case, on Taiwan in particular, the message has been confusing, to say the least.
All right, Brent Sadler with the Heritage Foundation. We will leave it there. Thank you so much.